Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so as I've told you guys before, I want this channel to be entirely I want this to be the most transparent gear channel on YouTube. I don't do videos called unbiased gear reviews. Shout out to Arnold. But I do want these videos to be as unbiased as anybody could possibly be. At the end of the day, I just want to tell you, show you, and let you decide for yourself what's good, what's not good, what's worth your money, what's not worth your money. As you all know, I haven't been a great fan of the Apex Preamp. I'm still not a great fan of the Apex Preamp, but I will admit that it can, in some cases, sound perfectly fine. For me, that's typically been into a clean channel as a distortion. That said, I still think that it is very much overpriced. I think that you can get similar or better results with better pieces of gear and all that. But at the end of the day, if something about the Apex Preamp sounds or feels better to you, significantly better to you than other options, go for it. I'm not mad at you. I want to sell mine to one of you. It's all good. Anyway, so on Ola's recent video where he did the dime distortion, he straight up called that dime distortion freaking bad. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Then he pulled out the freaking Apex Preamp and said, why don't you just make it sound like this? I'm like, Jesus, why would you want that? But at the same time, he played through it and I was like, okay, that doesn't sound bad. But then again, he's playing the Apex Preamp, which is meant to be this super modern sounding, genty thing. And he's getting Dimebag Darryl tones, you know? Like, I love Dimebag's guitar sound. We all know that people are kind of split down the middle in terms of what they think about it. But it's definitely not a tone that you would associate with modern metal. But anyway, it didn't sound bad when he freaking played through it. In my head, I'm like, all right, I would really like to see what his settings were on the Seymour Duncan power stage. Part of me thought that he would probably have the mids and the treble boosted at least a good little bit, because when I've played through the Apex Preamp direct, I've always found it to be very dull and kind of lifeless sounding. But, whoop, almost lost my baby. That said, I haven't played it in the same manner that, well, I have, but I haven't done a video on it being used in the same manner that he did. Basically into a power amp pedal directly into a cab, and the cab being mic'd up. So even with my Laney Ironheart video that I just did, I noticed that listening back, that video sounded a good bit more trebly than the amp sounded in the room, but that's fine. So maybe this will, essentially, I just want to see what type of results we get if I use the Apex Preamp into basically a similar situation. Now, I don't have a Seymour Duncan power stage. I have the 44 Magnum power amp here, which is a good bit cheaper than the power stage. The power stage is almost definitely a better product, but I have no issues with this pedal. I think it's great. It does not have a 3-band EQ, and I don't think a power amp technically probably should, but it does have a normal mode and a bright mode. We're going to start on the normal mode. Now, to my ears in the room, the normal mode, I have 3 pedals in front of me, and the normal mode sounds fine, but generally speaking, I liked it better on the bright mode. That may not come through quite as well on the recording since I have this cab mic'd up. Maybe when I go to the bright mode, it'll sound a little bit brittle to you all. I'll see when I'm editing the video, just like you all will. But anyway, here in front of me, I have the Apex Preamp, of course. I have the Friedman BE-OD Deluxe to provide that counterpoint in saying, okay, this is a cheaper version of, I consider the BE-OD Deluxe what I would recommend to people who think that they want an Apex Preamp. I think that it is similar, but it has more flexibility and it does have presence controls, which can freaking, to me, get closer to the modern sound that I'm going for. And then, as an even greater counterpoint, I have the Andy James Revenant pedal here by STL Tones. So to me, both the Apex Preamp and the BE-OD Deluxe, they sound like pedals, whereas the Revenant has joined that echelon of preamp pedals along with the series that, to me, they sound like amps. So we're going to see how all that comes through my Mission cab. So I guess that's pretty much enough talking. Let's go ahead and get at it. I'm going to start with the Apex Preamp. So I have all the EQ on all these pedals at noon, and I'm going to leave off their tight modes and all that sort of stuff. Just going to have them basically straight in. Alright, so this is dry tone. said, the 44 Magnum is in normal mode, but here's the Apex Preamp. So at first glance, that's, I think, is the best experience that I've had with the Apex Preamp. It doesn't sound bad to me. And again, that's without the type mode even being on. Let me engage the type mode. Not bad at all. I have no problem with that. That said, let's go over to the Andy James Revenant pedal. See what I'm saying in terms of sounding more like an amp than a pedal? In the room, that was way more satisfying. And again, I don't have the focus modes turned on. So that was way tighter without its focus mode on than the Apex Preamp was in its tight mode. So I'm turning on the focus mode on the Revenant now. Focus on. Extremely satisfying. See, now that just makes me want to just keep playing. So I'm gonna bounce back and forth between the Revenant and the Apex Preamp. So again, all the EQ is at noon, and the focus mode on the Revenant is on. And the tight mode on the Apex Preamp is on. Here's the Apex. Revenant. Alright, now that sounds maybe a little bit nasally in the room, so I'm going to cut the high mids just a little bit. Back to the Apex. right, so now, since we're adjusting EQ slightly, now the Apex sounds as dull as I remember it sounding because I'm comparing it to something else. So let's increase the treble on the Apex just a little bit and slightly back off the bass as well. Back to the Revenant. Still greatly prefer the Revenant. Alright, let's bring the BE-OD Deluxe into the mix. So this is the BE-OD Deluxe on the blue channel. Back to the Apex, and all the EQ on the BE-OD is still at noon, except for the presence knob, which is all the way maxed. Friedman. Like I said, this is the blue channel on the BE-OD Deluxe, which is slightly less gainy, so I'm going to increase the gain to about 130. Back to the Apex. Alright, let's go over to the green channel, which is the higher gain channel in BE-OD Deluxe. Everything is still at noon on this one. Back to the Apex. turn the tight mode off. Not bad, but I think I just greatly prefer it with the tight mode on. So let's instead slightly increase the gain. Gain is now at about 130 on the Apex. Back to the Friedman. Alright, so now let's slightly increase the treble on this and back off the bass just a little bit. So now the EQ on the Friedman and the Apex are exactly the same, but the gain is still at noon on the BE-OD. Apex. BE-OD. Back to the Apex. Yeah, I think I prefer the Apex to the BE-OD Deluxe on these settings. Let me see what happens if I go back to the blue channel, so the lighter gain channel on the BE-OD, and just increase the gain on it. Also going to increase the treble to 130. Back to the Apex. Alright, so now I'm preferring the BE-OD again. Let's increase the treble on the Apex. Also going to introduce some more mids. Friedman. Alright, so now we're at a point where, yeah, I can see that I just prefer the character of the BE-OD Deluxe more so than the Apex Preamp. It comes out as being clearer to me. I can imagine it's really going to come through if I play some chords, so let's try that. Apex. That said, I don't dislike the sound I'm getting out of the Apex right now, but I do still slightly prefer the BE-OD Deluxe. Alright, I'm going to reset EQ and move over to the bright mode of the 44 Magnum. I'm going to leave gain where it's at, but all EQ is going back to noon. So here's the Apex. Not bad at all. Also great. So yeah, for these two pedals that, like I said, I feel like they sound like pedals, they seem to be at their best through a bright power amp. So again, EQ was at noon for those. Gain was slightly increased, but if I were to just plug in and play, that's the type of sound I want to hear out of my guitar. I expect that the Revenant pedal, which I said sounded great on the normal mode of the power amp, is going to sound super brittle right now, but let's try it. I reset the EQ on this as well. So here's the Revenant. In the room, it doesn't sound brittle. I hope I didn't just like tear your eardrums with that being too brittle through the mic. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. So, in terms of just thoughts now, this is for sure the best situation that I've seen, that I've enjoyed the Apex. I've enjoyed the Apex the most sitting down right here in front of y'all more than I have in any other situation. Again, best with a bright power amp. My opinion still remains that, so even out of these three, personally, my preference remains, of course, the Revenant, followed by the BE-OD, and then the Apex Preamp. And price-wise, that does not match up in the slightest, because you can get the BE-OD Deluxe very cheap, along with the MXR 5150 Overdrive, which I'm pretty sure you can get for even cheaper. And as I've shown before, I think that the Apex Preamp and the 5150 Overdrive are extremely, extremely similar. But that said, I don't hate the Apex Preamp the way it sounds in this situation. We'll see what happens. That's the funny thing about these channels. Like, I mean, just playing with all this gear, your views are going to constantly evolve over time. As far as I can think, everything that I've said about this Apex Preamp still stands. Don't buy it unless it really, truly appeals to you. In which case, go for it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do stuff like this all the time, fairly sporadically. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.